Okay, need lights on. Okay, got my little. No, don't knock things over. Okay, there. I've got another light. Okay, we are started. And my cat is here, by the way. Oh, it's been a long, hard day because I've been working pretty much all day now. And I'm so hungry. So and the cat's back. We'll see if she wants to like hang out and curl up on my lap and stuff for you guys. Let's see here. Should let everybody know that it's starting now. Carl. You're happy. Yes, yes. That is your chair too. Definitely your chair. Oh, I should like put this on Twitter, shouldn't I? I'm not so good with the Twitters. Yep. So basically, I just got off of work. And yeah, and the cat's curling up beside me. It's good. And all my regulars are in Europe, so they're asleep right now. So who knows if anyone will show up. I did the Twitter thing. Let's see if anybody shows up from that. See, I haven't done any like really exciting translations lately, but I did get to do one that was kind of fun. I did another fun translation of a quote from Galadriel. Let me find that. Okay, so the original English is, "I will diminish and go into the west and remain Galadriel." And the translation that I have for it, well, there's two ways I translated it. The first one was more about her like remaining translated as using a root for patience, suffering, enduring. So, but the person I was doing the translation for wanted it to be a little bit more of a positive meaning. So instead, I went with a different take on it. So the translation I came up with is Pikuvan ar menuvan numena ar, and then this part's a different one. Nalvan oyo nalatariel. Or Naltariel, not Nala, just Naltariel. Like so. So that one is literally, I will lessen. Lessen is for diminish, to become less. I will go to the west. So menuvan, I will go. Men is the verb root. Uva is the future tense suffix. And then the N at the end is I. So I will go. Numena. So Numen is west. And then the na at the end is to or towards. So to the west. Yeah, that part was fairly simple. But figuring out a way to say, not changing, remaining Galadriel, that one was a little bit difficult. There's several different ways to approach it. There's one word, tauba, and that's more like, oh, she's back. The cat's back. Brain, stuttering. Let's see here. Alba, to endure. And that was a good one, or one that I was thinking of using. But in the future tense, it's kind of hairy because we don't actually know if it would be like this. It could be tau vuva or tau vau va, and neither one sounds that great. So first time I tried taking Actually, it's a suggestion from a friend of mine, Elran, taking the route for Reth, which is part of Andreth, which means patience, staying in one place, enduring suffering. So I tried using Reth. So that was Resuvan, Ve Galtariel. But that didn't work. So instead I went, will continually be Galadriel. So that one is Nauvan, Nauvan Oyo Galtariel. Yeah. That was actually one of the first versions that I was trying for it when I was running through it. But I figured that an active verb would be a little bit better, or instead of a stative verb. But nope, the stative verb worked a little bit better. So food. Over here we have a place called Noodle Express. It is tasty. And it is safe for Fiona's. Oh, you know what I should do? I should post this on Facebook too. Because, my brain's waking up. Good morning, computer. Good morning, internet. You can do it. Facebook always seems to be slow. Okay. It's up there. Maybe I should let... No, still nobody here. So yeah, that's the most interesting translation I've handled lately. Galadriel's little post freak out thing, talking about how she'll give up on becoming a queen among the elves and become just Galadriel. Mm. Much earlier than I'm used to. But, you know, then there will be actually people here, so. I hope you guys enjoy watching me eat. Yeah. So she was hanging out on the windowsill, being very cute, I might add. Yeah. Are you my support kitty? You look like a support kitty to me. Yes, you are. This is your favorite thing. Yeah. Oh, there's cat hair everywhere because it's been hot and you're shedding a little bit. And you are still the bestest kitty ever. Okay, I feel much better. I'm torn between grabbing one of these and just reading for a little while, or oh my gosh, there's somebody here. Hi. Say something in the chat box. and ask me a question about Tolkien's languages. In fact, just ask me to translate something. Well, I guess I can do some reading for a little while. I can take you through some stuff in here. So, hidden things about translations in this book that you wouldn't know unless you had studied Tolkien's languages and the history and such behind them. So, Frodo says, Ellen sila lumen nomantielvo. The star shines on the hour of our meeting. To Gildor. And what this means is that he is very highly educated for a hobbit. He's had a classical Middle-earth education. So if you think of a classical education, that is Latin and Greek. But for Frodo, he's had Bilbo teaching him, and this is Middle-earth. So their classical education involves learning Sindarin and Quenya. And now the person's gone. Oh well, this will still be fun. This will be funner to watch back. So yes, Frodo, highly educated hobbit. Bilbo has studied the languages of the elves and has imparted this knowledge to Frodo. So Frodo is one fancy hobbit. Next one is Strider talking. He reads small, or he recites a small section of the Lay of Luthien, or the Tale of Tinuviel. The leaves were long, the grass was green, the hemlock umbels tall and fair, and in the glade a light was seen of stars and shadows shimmering. Tinuviel was dancing there to music of a pipe unseen, and light of stars was in her hair and in her raiment glimmering. So, this is Strider's favorite poem, by the way, or Aragorn's favorite poem. It's mentioned in the back of the book in the first appendix that he was reciting this poem when he met Arwen, and he decided that she was so beautiful that she must be Luthien, because there's a section in the poem that when he ran into her, he was reciting. And again she fled, but swift he came. Tinuviel, Tinuviel. He called her by her Elvish name, and there she halted, listening. One moment stood she, and a spell, his voice laid on her. Beren came, and doom fell on Tinuviel, that in his arms lay glistening. So he was reciting that part, and he was getting to the Tinuviel part, which is when he ran into Arwen, and that is when he fell in love. So this poem is in Anthenoth, and we don't actually know what Anthenoth would be like. Anthenoth means all long and short. So we have some guesses, and I get into this in my book. A Fan's Guide to Neo-Sindarin. I believe that's chapter 8 or chapter 9. Okay, here we are. So, so we know that it's in epic poetry. That's what Anthanath is used for. It has two features that we think possible. Rhythmic pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. Usually iambic or troche or troche. Troche. It depends. Oh, hello, Broken Wolf. How are you? I was just rambling about Tolkien's Elvish poetry. This particular one is Sindarin that we're talking about right now. I'm talking about Sindarin rhythm and rhythmic poetry in Sindarin. There's another section that of the Tale of Tinuviel that Tolkien actually did translate, though it wasn't into Sindarin exactly. It was in a language that eventually became like Sindarin. So it is Irithil ammen erchin menel virsila diriel siloth galad lastudin ahir anun gilthoniel the linon im tinuviel. So the lines are iambic, troche, iambic, 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 iambic. And it's a rhyming thing. So we think that it rhymes, and we think that it's got rhythm. So it's a lot like English poetry. So we can also guess that another example of Anthanath is actually coming up here in a moment. Don't want to skip. Okay, here we go. Elbreth Gilthoniel Silivran Penna Miriel Omenel Aglar Elenath Nachared Palandiriel Ugaleth Raminen Norath Von Willos Lilinathon Nevayarsi Nevayaron. So, probably also in Anthanath. And that seems to be a Sindarin only poetry style. It's not very well suited for Quenya. And we don't have any examples of rhythmic Quenya poetry. Quenya poetry seems to be quantitative instead, based on how long it takes to say the words. So, next section. Broken Wolf, what I'm doing here is I'm just going through the Lord of the Rings, talking about various translations in it. No, we don't. All we have of Khuzdul, we'll get to later, is some battle cries of Gimli and a few place names and just a few names. That's it. Tolkien did not develop Khuzdul very extensively, and I think he wanted it to be mysterious. So, yeah, I'm just going through here explaining stuff about the translations that you'd have to know if you were or that you'd know if you were a Tolkien language scholar. So next we have Glorfindel running into Strider and the Hobbits. Yeah. Most of his languages, he only did a very small amount of language creation with. And it's really only Sindarin, Quenya, and Adunai which have any serious work done on them. If you're looking for Kuzdul poetry, I suggest the Dwaro scholar. He might have some poetry in there somewhere. I know that he does the lessons and phrase books and word lists. And he's been working on making Neo Kuzdul for a while now. Okay, so they run into each other, and he says when he meets them, Aina vedwi dunadan, magavanen. So, Dunadan is a nickname for Aragorn. It's basically just his ethnicity. That's actually fairly common for elves, calling people by their ethnicity rather than their actual name. So, Dunadan, West man, West human. So he is a Númenórean, and that's our first hint of that. And what he's saying there is actually, or what Glorfindel is saying here is actually really informal. So ai is like an expression meaning it's like any high emotions. Sort of like ah or oh. But you could also use it as hey, hi, or oi, or yo, like that. So that's what ai means. And Navedwi means at last. And my Govanen is like, I'm happy to see you. Literally, it means well met, but it's or what an elf would mean by saying my Govanen. It's a good thing that I'm meeting you. But this is a very informal phrase, and you would say it to close friends. It's kind of like howdy. It's based off, howdy is based on how do you do, but it's been shortened down. And my Govanen used to be my Ki Ovanen, but the key became just a G at the beginning. So my Govanen. A very fast, informal greeting amongst friends, since Glorfindel has known Aragorn since he was a child. Okay, Legolas. Legolas means green leaf. We get hit mentioned that in later on in a poem, actually, it says Legolas Greenleaf long under tree. Greenleaf is just a translation of Legolas. The leg part in other Sindrian dialects would be lag. But it is also it's a very archaic word for green. And there's a term for an ethnicity of, or an elf culture, wood elf culture, called the green elves. And they are called Laigel or Laigrim, using the same word, lag, or as they say it, Legrim. So Legolas, his name is telling you both that he is a wood elf, that he's a Sindrian-speaking wood elf, basically. So it's not a terribly creative name, unless you think about the fact that he's a Sindrian elf, or that he's descended from the Sindrian elves. So his name basically is saying that he is a wood elf culturally. So he's not a Sindarin elf exactly. He's a wood elf. Okay, and here's one of the few black speech things that Tolkien made. Tolkien designed black speech, or the little that we know of it, as being, he said, a mockery of Quenya. So it's an agglutinative language like Quenya. Ash nazg durbatuluk, ash naz gimbatul, ash nazg frakatuluk, ach durjam ishi krimbatul. And that is that. That is the ring poem. But yeah, that little poem there, that's pretty much all that Tolkien made of black speech. That and a few curses for his works. And that's not technically black speech. Apparently, the orcs have many, many different tongues, and black speech is kind of a common elf tongue, or not elf, common orc tongue that Sauron made for them. Okay, next we have Gandalf doing a spell. So spells in the movies were often translated into Quenya, but not all of them were. Like Arwen's chant at the river, that was in Sindarin, not in Quenya. But this one it's also in Sindarin. And the reason that this works, it's not magic words. It's because it's Gandalf who's speaking them. Gandalf can say, Nauran edraith amen, naur daning gaurhoth. So fire for saving for us, fire against the werewolf host. And a werewolf is just an intelligent wolf that can understand language. So Gandalf, is a Maya, minor deity. So him commanding the world to do things, works, while, a human or an elf would need some serious help getting that done. Then a few pages after that, we have, ta-da! So let me get into why this door is covered in Tangwar and not in Cirth. The dwarves adopted Cirth for their writing system from their initial contact with the Sindarin elves. But they had a falling out based on the Silmaril that Beren won for Thingol. So there, people got killed on both sides. A lot of bad blood ever since. So thus, Thranduil, who's still a Sindarin elf, hates the dwarves, and dwarves hate wood elves and Sindar, who use the Cirth as their writing system. So this door, have you ever wondered why Legolas was no help at that door? The door is written in his language. He should be able to read it, right? Well, he doesn't read Tangwar. Tangwar are a foreign writing system to the Sindarin elves. It comes from Quenya. So you just had no ability to read this text. So the dwarves wrote this secret door, well, not very secret, but wrote the message on this door so that the elves of Eregion, who were friendly to them, who were Noldorin elves, not Sindarin elves, could get in, while the Sindarin elves and the wood elves and such, and green elves, were unable to get in because they can read the door and find out what the password was. Thus, this is a door designed to not be used by Legolas, who is a wood elf and would not know how to read or write Tengwar. So Gandalf again commands the door. He says, Annon edellen edrohi ammen, fennas nogothrim lastabet lammen. So, Elvish gates, open now for us. Gate of the dwarf folk, hear the word of my tongue. So, he's commanding it, but it wants the password. It doesn't want the Maya just pushing its way in. And apparently, the Orcish word in Moria for fire is chash, because they're in Moria right now. That's where I'm flipping through. Okay, here's a fun little bit. So, you know how I was talking about how Ai is exclamation of strong emotions? Well, Legolas, upon realizing that they are facing a Balrog, which is a Maya of fire, which became evil and served Morgoth, the great enemy. So when he realizes that they're against a giant fire monster, he says, "Aye, a Balrog is come," and his common speech kind of breaks down, gets the grammar wrong. So, I, in this particular context, means eek. He's saying, eek, eek, a Balrog is come. All right. More Elvish spoken in commanding tones. So they reach Lothlorien and they're all grieving for Gandalf being gone. And all of a sudden they're surrounded by strange elves yelling, Daro. But it's not translated in the text here. And Daro means halt. And it's in Sindarin. So, but it's not translated because this scene is from the perspective of the hobbits. And the hobbits aren't very fluent in Sindarin. Even if Frodo can, say a few greetings, he's not terribly fluent. And probably can read and write all right, but speaking, no. So there's elves running, popping out of trees, yelling shout, or not shout, yelling halt in their language. And it's supposed to be scary and you don't know what's going on, which is why Tolkien didn't translate this particular phrase. So it lends fear and frustration to the scene and puts you in their perspective. So, next one, only a page later, or maybe 2 pages later, they run into some orcs and they're being guided along by the elves, the wood elves there. So these elves do not speak Sindarin as a first language. They speak it as a second language. Their first language is Nandarin. And so when they yell Urch for the plural of orcs, now the singular word for orc is Orch. and they say ur for its plural. But the older plural, like for a Sindarin elf speaking the language fluently, it would be not ur. And that's actually a grammatical mistake that they're making in their translation, or they're saying orcs are around. So yeah, that's a little error that they're making, grammatical error. And it's one of the things that marks them as second language speakers of Sindarin. Galadriel has introduced Sindarin to the Wood Elves in Lothlorien, but and she learned the most highfalutin dialect, the Doriathrin dialect. She was palling around with King Thingol and Queen Melian herself. So she speaks real fancy dialect. But, your second language that you learn later in life is always a little bit more difficult to grab the nuances of. So irregular plural forms, you'd miss them. So next we have a little thing being said by Aragorn, and he does this occasionally, but I'll just talk about this one. So he says, Arwen Vanimelde Namarie, and that means, Arwen, you're so hot. Goodbye. Because he thinks that he's not going to make it through this journey. But yeah, that's in Quenya. And him saying it in Quenya is showing off his classical Middle-earth education, which is much, much better than the Hobbit's classical Middle-earth education. So he speaks both Sindarin and Quenya quite fluently. He was actually getting to speak with actual speakers of the languages when he was learning. So, that probably greatly affects your ability to pick up the language. So here's another example of elves saying the name in Elvish and then giving you a translation after it. So there's calling Gandalf Mithrandir, or Mithrandir, which means gray wanderer or pilgrim. Randir is the masculine version of pilgrim or wanderer. So right after that, they say, "O pilgrim gray." So it's another example of them giving, for the sake of the common tongue speakers, translation right afterwards. Yes, here we go. Now we're into Farewell to Lorien. This one's fun. This is Galadriel's poem. So I'll read it to you first. Ai laurie lantarlassi surinen, jeni onotemi beramar aldoron, jeni belinte juldaravanier, mi oromarte lisse murovoreva, andune pella varto tellumar. Julvini assentinti largelenio Mario airetare lirinen. Si mani ulmaninen quantuva, ansintin dalle varta oiolosseo ve faniar mariat elentari ortane, ar ilia tier undulave lumbule, ar sindenorielo caita mornie, ifalmalina rimbemet ar hisie untupa calacirio miri oiale. Si vanma na Romelo vanma, Valimar. Namarie, na hiru valje Valimar. Na ilje hiruva. Namarie. So, if you're a Tolkien language scholar, you'll pick up on Sindanoriello. So Galadriel certainly has the ability to speak an older dialect of Quenya, and this poem is in Quenya. But she is deliberately choosing to use an exilic dialect, and you see it in several places. Instead of Wanwa, she says Vanwa. Instead of I can't do a voiceless rolled R. Well, it's spelled HR. Anyways, Romello instead of the voiceless rolled R at the beginning. I can't really roll R's anyways. And instead of Noriello, she says Noriello. This is very deliberate. She is using her language to show that she is not aligned with Fëanor. There's actually, Tolkien has an essay. I can pull it out. Morgoth's Ring, I believe it's in. I took out a lot of my my old markers on these things because it was getting too dense. So I couldn't find anything anyway. So I'll just have to use the the index like a normal person. No, I don't think it's in this book. More of the jewels. Looking for the shibboleth of Fëanor. Is it in the Quindi and the Eldar? 357. No, I don't think so. Okay. Peoples of Middle-earth, maybe? Why can't I remember where these things are? Okay, Problem of Rose. I think that I'm in the right place. Here we go. Shibboleth of Fëanor. So, here we go. Ta-da! Shibboleth of Fëanor. So in this essay, Fëanor is basically having a big old fit about how his mother, who passed away, her name was Therinde, and the pronunciation of her name was changing, and to him, being mispronounced. As Serinde instead of Therinde. And you'll notice that Galadriel says Sindanoriello instead of Thindanoriello. So she is deliberately using that sound change, speaking in this newer dialect of Quenya spoken in Middle-earth, to throw shade at Fëanor, saying that she is not connected to him and not his follower. Let's see. Okay, here we go. More black speech or orcish cursing. Ugluk u Bagkronk sha pushtug sarumanglo bubhosh sky. Yeah. And He doesn't, Tolkien doesn't like break down the grammar of this at all. It's basically a string of curses. And it's probably not actually in Black speech. It's probably in one of the many Orcish tongues. So we don't actually know what it's supposed to be in. All right. Next, we have some Entish. Some Entish Quenya. So the trees the ants apparently speak Quenya, and they say Lauren lindorinan lindelorendor malinori elvon ornemalin. And that is the name that they have for Lothlorien. And then their name for and the meaning of it is like golden, singing land, valley, singing golden land, golden tree, land of the tree stars, I think. Tree gold. So they're using different words for gold. And land and valley and such mixed in there, but yeah. Then their name for Mirkwood is Taura lilomea tumbale morna tumbale taurea lumeanor. So forests of night or gloomy forests. Tumbale, it's like a shadowy black, shadowy forests, dark land. So that is a taste of Entish Quenya. Because they never say anything fast. So you were talking about Dwarvish earlier, asking about Dwarvish, and I finally got into the section on Dwarvish, where you get to see some sentences, and we have Baruch Kazad I Menu. And that's one of the battle cries. And then he says, Kazad, Kazad I Menu. So, axes of the dwarves are upon you. And then dwarves are upon you. That's what that means. Oh, so there's a person here again. Hi, I'm just going through Lord of the Rings, explaining the hidden stuff behind all the translations Tolkien has in them. Feel free to ask me some questions. I do look up occasionally. All right. Then we have a very long space without much in the way of translations to get into. Because Tolkien kind of calms that sort of stuff down in his writing as he gets to the end, because he's getting a little bit tired, and you'll notice that the pace of the storytelling speeds up towards the end. So not as much linguistic fun in the later part. Next, we have a section where Samwise is giving his own version of Elbereth Hilfonium. So the original version, I'll translate it for you and explain what's being said here. O Elbereth, star kindler, silvery, sliding down, shining like jewels from heaven, the glory of all stars. From the distance, having seen from afar, from tree woven Middle Earth, Fonwilos, to you I shall sing on this side of the ocean, here on this side of the ocean. So this is a song that is full of sadness and longing, talking about how they were stuck in Middle Earth, far from their deity, Elbereth Gilthonia. And that they're stuck, and they're singing this song to her on the eastern side of Belegair, which is the great sea that separates Middle Earth from Valinor. So that is the Elvish version. And then Samwise says, A Elbereth Gilthoniel Omenel Palandiriel Lenelon Sidingurthos Tironin Fanwilos. So he says, A Elbereth, star kindler from heaven, having gazed from afar. To you I cry out here under the shadow of death. Oh, guard me, or look over me, Fonwilos. Fonwilos is another name for Elbereth. It's based off of the place that she lives, which is on top of a mountain. So, and then we skip another section. Somewhere in here, Aragorn finds a tree sapling. Forget which part it is exactly. To replace the dead white tree. Surprisingly, very little Orcish in the section here. Okay, so next we have the field of Cornwallen. So this is the hobbits. They're, they're being cheered at, and the cheer says, and it's like many different people shouting, and these are some things that are being shouted. Long live the halflings, praise them with great praise. Quio iferiain annan, aglar ni ferianath. That one's in Sindarin. So Sindarin and Quenya are languages of the court, of the Gondorian court. So the fact that someone is chanting in Sindarin means that there's some nobles in that group chanting for them. And praise them with great praise, Frodo and Samwise. Daura berhail konin en anun eglerio. So that's also in Sindarin, and it's just a translation of their names. So Frodo and Samwise, princes of the West, glorify. So they're just putting the object of the verb before the verb. Praise them, eglerio. And then we have another section. Laitate, andave laitu valmet. And that means, oh, praise them, long may we praise them. And that's in Quenya. So there are some really highfalutin people shouting their hobbits' praises. So praise them. Korma kolindor alaitatai rienna. praise them. The ring bearers, praise them with great praise. So yeah, the crowd that's chanting for them is as a mixture of nobles and common folk, and some really high, well-educated nobles able to chant cheers for the hobbits in Quenya and Sindarin. See. So Aragorn gets his crown, and he says, Etearello endorena utulien, sinumi marvan arhildinjar denambar meta. So let's see if I can sing that. Etearello endorena utulien, sinumi marvan arhildinjar denambar meta. So this is Aragorn showing off his very fancy education again, because these are words that Elendil spoke when he arrived at Middle-earth. So he is showing off both his heritage and the fact that he can speak Quenya. And he does this again in another part. I'm trying to find it. Yes, here we go. Okay, so they find a sapling to replace the white tree. And when he finds it, Aragorn says, Yay, utu vienes, which means, look, I found it. I have found it. And it's in Quenya, so he's showing off again. All right, next we have his mother showing off that she is incredibly well educated, and she's using a type of poetry that we know very little about, because this is the only poem that we know of in that particular form. So it says, Onania stella edain uchebine stellanim. And it means, I gave the hope to humanity. I don't keep hope for myself. So hope in this particular case is Aragorn's childhood name. Like, it's not nickname, but it was the name he was using as a child so that people wouldn't know that this was somebody of noble blood hanging out with him. So she is lamenting that she will have to give Aragorn up. Let him go out into the world. Like parents. And I think that's the last, it's the last translation to worry about. So I have gotten through the whole book. And it's been an hour. And I'm tired. So I'm just going to end it now. Okay. Namarie.